Okay, so I think we're live. It's 12:57, 4/28, 2024. And I just jumped over from Southern Cal's new channel. So we're going to be going over the true crimes of the week. So I'll play my intro. It's early. Okay, so we are live. Hey, buddy, how's it going? This is Serial Evo. I'm doing all right. Hanging in there. It's starting to get a tiny bit warmer, but with the warmth comes the rain. But I guess I could be doing a lot worse than some other people are doing right now. So let's go right to it. What I want to do first is give me a second here. Some of the damage from some of the tornadoes here. Give me 2 seconds. All right, let's start out with this. This was a day ago here. I believe this is Nebraska. So hold on a second. I'll share this. So this is drone video from Elkhorn, Nebraska. And this is a very small community, but you can see you can tell this is tornado because it's just everywhere. There's damage. Some places just completely leveled, some places with minor damage, some places with medium damage, and just some places just strangely enough, nobody was hurt in this stuff here. So just really strange. And I came on live yesterday to give an update on that. It might be bad tomorrow too, but yesterday was definitely a we're in Florida. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Although this stuff seems to be stationary because of the high pressure over the northeast coast right now. I mean, look at this. Just completely destroyed. This whole house is just gutted. All right, let's do. This was 5 hours ago here.
Now, our crews spotted dozens of people digging through the wreckage today. But a reminder, Nebraska authorities don't want you to go out there unless you're working with coordinated efforts for safety. Well, KETV News Watch 7's Eddie Cecil met a group of people helping a man who lost his home last night.
Down power lines, houses completely destroyed, families left devastated after tornadoes ripped through this Elkhorn area Friday evening.
It was unsettling.
That's Ron McCoy, a homeowner in Ramblewood who watched his home torn apart from his truck in a nearby cul-de-sac.
Not good. I watched some of it, but then I didn't know if I was going to get hit, so I covered my head and bent over in my truck.
All this disaster leading to thousands of volunteers flooding to the Ramblewood community in Elkhorn.
Man, there's a bunch of volunteers here that are kicking some butt, and it's really appreciated. It's beyond my expectations, way beyond.
Helping cut debris as well as clear it out. The Omaha community and beyond coming together for one common goal: to help thy neighbor.
I'm actually from Utah, out here doing a mission for my church, and a big part of that to me is just to be charitable to others, to go out and to serve where I can. And today, like, obviously it's pretty sad of what's going on.
Look at this. This is just somebody's inside of their house. It's just completely,
Just being able to be out here and to help people, be able to kind of just still love and joy and peace in a hard time. It's basically why we're out here.
It's really cool to see everybody come out and help out for people who are victims of this awful storm. It just really shows the support out here and how much people really care for each other, especially when stuff like this happens.
As for McCoy, his house might have been lost, but not all was lost.
So it's Harley Davidson is in there. And yesterday.
yeah, see, that's the good news when these things happen during the day. If they happen during the day, there's a really good chance people are going to be at work. When they happen at night, that's when it's really bad.
The fire department told him that it was unsafe and he couldn't get in there and get his Harley. So we said, well, the fire department's not here today. So after we helped him find his valuables, we said, we're going to get in that garage. We're going to get your bike out.
And once the garage door was open, there it was, McCoy's Harley, with barely a scratch on it.
It's my baby, so I want to take care of her. Yeah.
With the help of volunteers all around the Omaha metro area, these neighborhoods and communities will look to rebuild and be back stronger than ever. Reporting in Elkhorn, Eddie Messel.
Yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay, so let me share this here. This is the tornado, as one of the tornadoes as it was moving through this. I think this was just today, through Iowa here.
In just a little bit, we got to get into this. This is a massive wedge tornado that's just taken over an entire interstate. I've never.
Look at this thing. It's a monster. Thing is.
Never seen anything like this. We're going to come back, check with you. I know you're chasing this as well, and there has been sadly major damage out of this, and so we'll check in with you. Thank you for all the hard.
I mean, this storm right here is just a monster. Look at this shelf cloud here.
We got to get into this team and look at this if we can. Yeah, let's start telestrating over and showing you Brett Adair. This is now in Harlan, Iowa. We were showing you that city. It was just to the west of there. Look at this. This thing right here that you're witnessing in front of you is a tornado. I know it's tough to even fathom. While talking to Corey, look at by the way, in the foreground, the wind speed. You see this SUV that's kicking up the water. If we can drop the banner, team, real quickly. Destructive tornado is tearing through Nebraska. Look at how.
If you look in here in some of this, what they could call like rain bands here, you can actually see debris flying around here.
Fast the wind is like spitting that off the road. That's speaking to the violent nature this far removed from the tornado. Imagine being in that tornado, though. And what's ahead of this?
Steve, look at that tree ahead of that car.
Look at
how
this.
it's leaning.
Just snapped right to the side.
You got this funnel here, and this is actually going back into the cloud, just on this side.
Ken, I don't know even how to talk about this.
You can definitely see a counterclockwise flow here. It's just feeding into this system here.
This right now, we're looking at this on telly. This right here is showing you how wide. So it goes from here to here. All of this in between is a tornado, a wedge tornado that is coming down as of right now. And as we zoom in, look at this. This is showing you that inflow and how the wind is just getting sucked in like a vacuum. I mean, I've never seen anything this large before, and it's tough to fathom that this would be classified as a tornado. I mean, it's much larger. You think, I mean, when we had this estimated before, 3 to 4 miles, you can tell.
Yeah, this is a good, I don't know, mile across, maybe 2 miles here.
Let's start illustrating over and showing you Brett Adair. This is now in Harlan, Iowa. We were showing you that city. It was just to the west of there. Look at this. This thing right here that you're witnessing in front of you is a tornado. I know it's tough to even fathom. While talking to Corey, look at by the way, in the foreground, the wind speed.
I mean, the good news is it seems like these storms always impact places that, I mean, this is sparse land here. So you're probably not going to get a lot of property damage, but this is just a massive system here.
You see this SUV that's kicking up the water? If we can drop the banner, team, real quickly. Destructive tornado is tearing through Nebraska. Look at how fast the wind is spitting that off the road. That's speaking to the violent nature this far removed from the tornado. Imagine being in that tornado, though, and what's ahead of this.
Steve, look at that.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't want to imagine being in that tornado. No thanks. All right, so go here, and then I'll get on to some other stuff here.
And for a closer look at the damage caused by the tornado, let's bring in storm chaser Kyle Cutton.
So basically, it was Nebraska, Iowa, and Texas, and parts of Oklahoma that got it yesterday. This is 15 hours ago.
Is live in Omaha, Nebraska this morning, one of the hardest hit areas. Kyle, it's great to see you. I know you've had a long night.
How's everything down in Florida, buddy? You doing good?
You've been driving, you've flown and driven through the night to get to Omaha. First, tell me what it looks like on the ground this morning.
Well, daylight's just coming. I just left the damage site. They're still not letting us in. They're only letting in residents with ID that matches. It's tragic. I don't want to overstate it, but it looks like some of the high-end tornado damage that we've seen in generations past.
Look at that. Look at that thing. That's a monster right there. It's like a huge vacuum.
Will probably scar this place for generations to come. And more importantly, today is even a bigger potential for even more tornadoes than we saw just yesterday.
It's not just wind. You know, this thing here is sucking things up into it. So it's pulling things from below. It's not just wind. Wind is one thing, but this thing here is just kind of lifting things into it. Look at this, a beautiful shelf cloud here. Look at this, the layers here. This is beautiful.
And Kyle, you've been doing this a long time. In terms of devastation, given the large number of tornadoes, as many as 60, there could be more. Are you surprised by what you saw at the devastation sites?
Yeah, I'm blown away in the sense that two things. Very high-end quality built homes were completely taken off the foundation, which you just don't see often, that I personally witnessed this morning. And the biggest thing is the no fatalities. I can't stress to you enough that it's sort of a miracle that we had 60 tornadoes across 5 states. And at this point now, I will say this, I'm going to go back. We're awaiting the approval from the officials to go ahead and start helping with search and rescue ourselves. I've got a full team here in Omaha that we're ready to help as soon as they let us in.
Look at that. Just all of this amazing, the path of destruction here. This is just insane. This is Omaha.
Told by law enforcement is they are not going to do anything until daylight is fully up.
No fatalities. And I think one of the big reasons is because this happened during the day and not, at night.
Looting has already been an issue, but they are wanting the public to come and help. They definitely have made that known. But the law enforcement I spoke with said no.
You're going to the trial? That's cool. That's awesome.
No fatalities to this point. They are going to do a preliminary morning search and continue.
I'm with you. I've been thinking about the fact that no one has been seriously injured or hurt. I'm going to use your words because I agree with them. It's a miracle. Going back to what you said a moment ago, we're right in the peak of tornado season. Like you mentioned, a lot of forecasters saying more storms will come today. They'll come throughout the weekend. You've been doing this a long time. I know I've said that, but your experience is crucial here. What advice do you have for people in the region?
You have to have a plan right now. Waking up this morning, we're waking up to almost 90 million people in the path of today's storms. Today is going to be the worst of it, they're saying. You have to have a plan today, right now, because this afternoon, like folks I've talked to, they didn't think their houses were going to be leveled and off the face of the earth yesterday, right? So you have to have a plan. You have to have essentials. You have to have a kit, batteries, radio, food, medicine, everything stopped.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're not home, it's really hard to get killed then, from the storm. But if you're, normally these things happen, early evening, late evening. Hurricanes seem to always hit at night. I don't know what that is, why that is, but
Stocked away, prepared, because the time you need it could be the most critical, life-saving time of your life.
And you know that better than so many of us. Kyle Cutton, fantastic reporting. We will check in with you later in the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah.
the thing with tornadoes is such a localized thing, right? You can't, with a hurricane, there's so much widespread damage because they'll depending on how they hit, where they hit, most of the problems from hurricanes come from, water. But with tornadoes, you could be literally across the street and not feel anything and just see your neighbor's house just completely being ripped apart. It's so weird. All right, so let's get out of this. I'll go into some true crime here. Hurricanes are no fun either. All right, so I want to do this here because I wanted to go back to this again. This came up. I almost covered this last week. Whoops. But I didn't have time last week on the live, so I'll do this now. This is going back to the Rachel Morin thing. I don't know if anybody remembers her, but she was unalived over there in Maryland. Pretty sure it was Maryland. And they're still looking for the guy. He's the guy that they tied the DNA to from a home invasion out in California. So this is her mom speaking out about this. So they still haven't caught this guy. He's still out there.
That Rachel was missing.
And they got to catch this guy
It was
soon
actually-
because he's probably going to do it again.
I woke, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but I woke up.
Yeah, he was the one that was caught leaving that home invasion there. And they got a good look at his back, but nobody can see his face in there, so nobody knows who that is. So this is the mom. This is Rachel's mom speaking out here.
The morning that they found her body, and we were still in Kentucky because I had a grandbaby that had passed away, and we had just did a funeral for her. And I woke up and I said, I just have a really bad feeling that something's happened to Rachel. And my oldest daughter, who rode down with me, she checked on Facebook and she met.
If you see Rick Snee, tell him I can't stand him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love Rick. Rick is awesome. Rick is great. I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm in a good mood tonight. I don't know why. Just after some of these true crime stories, though, I probably won't be.
Messaged other family members, and it was while she was on Facebook that she found out that Rachel had been reported missing. Nobody contacted us before then, and then it wasn't until after they found Rachel's body that the sheriff department used one of my children's phone to contact me to let us know that they had found her body. So we kind of didn't know until after the fact. She'd been missing. And
So this lady here, Rachel Morin, she went out walking on a trail to exercise, and she was brutally attacked and unalived. And they've been looking for unalive her ever since. I wonder if they're going to show the ring cam video.
Who told you that Rachel was missing, and who told you that her body had been found?
My oldest daughter saw the post on Facebook on the sheriff's webpage. And then it was the investigating detective at the time that had called using my son's phone to let us know that they had found her. And they
I think the family actually grew up over here in Dover, New Hampshire. I'm not sure, but pretty sure.
believed that it was her and that she had passed away. Well, they found her body. So, I mean, either you find a
And
person.
really, all of this was instigated because you had a quote bad feeling. Miss Morin, I've got to tell you something. When my fiance was murdered, I had just walked out of a statistics exam, and I was on my way to my job in the library, and I got a message to call Keith's family, and I knew right then that Keith was dead. That minute, when they picked up the phone and said hello, I said, "Is Keith gone?" I knew. I don't know how that happens, Miss Morin. I don't know how that happens, but it happened. What was the feeling that you had? What did it feel like?
It when I woke up, it felt like it felt like a shadow. It also felt like profound, like sadness, emptiness. Like I just knew that there was something that, like I think it's just mother's intuition. I just knew there was something that wasn't right, that there was something terribly wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And when my kids were younger, teenagers, and they would, go spend time with their friends, I would know if they were, being honest or not. It's like a mother just knows her children. I can't explain it. I don't profess to be psychic or anything. I just think it's because we are a close-knit family. And so my oldest daughter, knowing that mom's intuition is usually correct, she went looking, contacting her brothers, and to see, if everybody was okay. And that's how we found out.
Do you remember what you were doing when you were told that Rachel's body had been found?
I was at my son's house. We were getting ready to come back to Maryland.
Ooh, Nancy Grace? Yeah, I think so.
But we weren't sure what was happening with Rachel. So I wanted to hurry up and come back so we could be part of looking for her. And so we had packed up our things. We were getting ready to pack up the car when we got the phone call that she was missing. I think we were like maybe like a half hour or so down the road from my son's house heading back. And my daughter had traveled with me, my oldest daughter, she said, "Mom, you need to turn around and go home because you're not going to be able to drive the 10 hours home." And so.
Yes, I do. I think some of them are just being misclassified as overdoses and not foul play. I definitely think, a good percentage of them are, for sure. I mean, it's just my opinion, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I thought I was okay, but
I mean, it would be so easy to get away with, honestly.
Son and my daughter insisted that I stay a couple of days to bring my emotions and things under control so I could drive.
Just like the whole, you always hear these stories about wives poisoning their husbands, husbands poisoning their wives with antifreeze and stuff like that. Just think back 20, 30 years ago when they didn't have any testing to detect that stuff. So you never know. I would be shocked if there wasn't more cases that never ever got even looked at. All right, so that's the end of that. I guess I'll play a little bit of this since we're on that here.
August 5, September 5, October 5, November 5, December 5, January.
I'll fast forward
Rachel's
this.
body had been found.
I was at my son's house. We were getting ready to come back to Maryland. But we weren't sure what was happening with Rachel. So I wanted to hurry up and come back so we could be part of looking for her. And so we had packed up our things. We were
I mean, they may never find this guy. If he left the country, they may never find him.
getting ready to pack up the car when we got the phone.
But I guarantee you one thing. If he's done this before, he's probably going to do it again. So that's the only way, my opinion, of finding him.
Phone call that she was missing. I think we were like maybe not a half mile, like a half hour or so down the road from my son's house heading back. And my daughter.
I was listening to a story the other night on Dateline where they just kicked it off as like part of the flu or something, and the woman was dead for years. They dug her up again, and then they tested for the antifreeze, and they found it. But that wasn't. That was like 10 years later. They classified it as just a natural thing.
That had traveled with me, my oldest daughter. She said, "Mom, you need to turn around and go home because you're not going to be able to drive the 10 hours home." And so, I thought I was okay, but my son and my daughter insisted that I stay a couple of days to bring my emotions and things under control so I could drive the 10 hours back to Maryland.
Miss Morin, what was your initial reaction? I know when I was told that Keith was dead, I didn't believe it. I immediately thought, wait, this is wrong. There's been some type of an accident. And if I can just get there fast enough.
It's Honeybee. Hey, Honeybee, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you, kiddo. I hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you for a while. Anytime I don't see people for a while, I get worried. But I hope you're doing well. Just going over this interview that they had with Rachel Morin's mom here. And I hope you're well. I do. It's getting warmer. It's warmer tonight, but it's raining.
Enough, I can get him to a hospital and I can fix it. I can fix this. I couldn't take it in until I saw someone write.
I'm fast forwarding this because
look for bugs and
we just heard that.
Frogs and that kind of stuff. So it's like
this trail or a trail near your family home?
This trail. We lived a block from this trail for over.
Yeah, be careful of the ticks. The ticks are, I haven't seen any yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're out there. The ticks are bad. They've been bad for the last few years for sure. Just be careful.
Over 10 years. And when they were growing up.
So this was her childhood home and childhood area. So she had walked this trail many, many times. And there's a lot to what you just said, her familiarity with the trail, feeling at home or at ease there, to the point where I'm sure, no fault of her own, I do it too. She felt at ease and probably let her defenses down, like we all do when we're at home.
You've been bit by a tick already? That's awful. That's terrible. Have you been seen? You got to be careful of those ticks, especially the deer tick.
or we're doing something we do every day. That's normal. Karen Stark, can you weigh in on, with me is Karen Stark, renowned psychologist, TV, radio, trauma expert at KarenStark.com, Karen with a C, in case you're trying to reach her. Can you, and I'm sure you can, I'm just the JD, you're the shrink. Can you assign a word or words to what Miss Morin is going through?
This is so typical of grief, Nancy. I mean, I recognized it right away. I'm sure you did too, that you just can't accept that the person has died. And it takes a very long time.
You get bit every year? That's terrible. Okay, we'll watch a couple more minutes of this and I'm going to move on to another case here. But I just wanted to keep people updated on this. I'm sure the cops are doing everything they possibly can, but it's going to be really hard to find the guy that did this, that's for sure.
And for that to sink in. You're also talking about a mother, that connection, that mother's instinct that she talked about. And that will never go away, that feeling of being connected. But having to accept it, it takes a long time till we're able to accept the loss of a child who should never die before you. It's not the way it's supposed to work.
What do we know about the killer, and where do we get that information from?
No, this is, I'm going over, they just did an interview with Rachel Morin's mom. So just going over that. This is the interview with the mom for Rachel Morin.
The crime scene. Listen.
Since the body of Rachel Morin was discovered in a drainage tunnel not far from the main entrance of the Ma and Pa Trail, Michael Gabrzeski has spoken out to the media about what he and his stepdaughter found or witnessed. The following information has been reported as fact by Michael Gabrzeski. Claim number 1. Gabrzeski's stepdaughter Cecilia discovered the body of Rachel Morin in a drainage tunnel. Claim number 2. Rachel Morin was lying on her back, fully naked, and she had brutal head trauma. It looked like her head had been smashed with a rock. Claim number 3, there was a 15 to 20-foot blood trail, so it looked like she had been beaten and dragged into position. Claim number 4, the right side of her face was gone. And claim number 5, it looked like the killer was trying to erase her identity.
Again.
See, if you wouldn't have told me, yeah, sorry, triggering alert there. It almost sounds, that almost sounds like a personal crime to me, but they're not saying that. So that sounds a little personal to me, but what do I know? Whoops.
Joining me in all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But I just wanted to say to Miss Morin, I was told nothing about my fiance's murders, the case surrounding it before trial. I was.
All right, so let's move on to something else. I just wanted to bring that up. It just, she was brutally attacked, and you know, like I said, if I didn't, that sounds like a personal crime to me. All right, let's go to I think this is Florida. I'm not sure, but this happened. I started covering this last week, just a little bit here, but this they finally got this guy after he Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronison said a murder suspect being sought after. A woman and a 4-year-old girl were found unalived, has been captured. He was captured last Thursday, which is good because they caught him right after that. So let's listen to this here. Oops, let me share this. Hold on a second. Let me rewind this a second here. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go.
with that gruesome scene in Dover today. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office on scene investigating a double murder. One of the victims, a 4-year-old child, and they just caught the suspect this afternoon after an 18-hour manhunt through the woods. And we just received the body cam video of how canines were able to track down the accused killer, who the sheriff says murdered his girlfriend and her daughter. Our Jada Williams standing by live today, where deputies just captured that man in a heavily wooded area. Jada, this was not easy.
It was not easy at all. It took a lot of manpower, and that also included help from infrared, helicopters, and of course, canines. Now, this was especially important because, again, it was in a very heavily wooded area. Now, just this way, you can see kind of the beginnings of it. We're here in the Plant City area. This is a farm. The woods where he was caught is just behind me. Now, for many of us, just across from where he was caught, we know that site. It's I-4, and on the other side of that scene, that's Dinosaur World. So this is very close to I-4 and a place that we've seen if we've traveled on it before, and that manpower really made it so much easier to be able to capture him.
All night long, 18 hours. I ain't been to work. I've been here with them 18 hours.
Just outside Jordan Glover's window all evening, overnight, and into the morning, countless Hillsborough County deputies.
It was brutal here last night. Kids didn't get to go to school. Kids were up all night, scared.
The manhunt began in his neighborhood the day before. Sheriff Chad Chronister says his team immediately got to work, acknowledging their suspect.
I believe this is Florida. This is Hillsborough County, basically the fairgrounds, outside of the fairgrounds there.
Angel Gabriel Kuschak likely had a 3-hour head start. Kuschak is accused of brutally stabbing and killing a woman he was romantically involved with, as well as her 5-year-old daughter.
Overnight, deputies, detectives, our canine units, and our aviators in the sky never gave up. I was here till early in the morning, and it was incredible to watch how this teamwork came together.
Give me your hands, Nick! Positioned throughout a 3-mile radius. Finally, an undercover deputy saw the suspect leaving an abandoned barn dressed in a thick winter coat.
They went in there. The canines went in there and got him. It's so awesome.
At some point, our suspect realizes that he's probably a law enforcement officer, sees him looking through the binoculars, and I think figures out the gig is up. So he runs, he refuses commands to stop, and he does just what we were afraid he that he would do. And he runs into a heavily wooded and dense area with a lot of overgrown vegetation.
Come out here! That's when canines were sent to apprehend him.
As the canine is grabbing the jacket, he's able to slip out of the jacket. By that time, more detectives were on scene, and they begin to help these 2 canine officers.
Isn't that how they got Calvecchio, right? Okay, Calvecchio. Remember the guy that escaped prison and he was in the woods for Pennsylvania for days and days and days. Finally, the dogs got him. Gotta love the dogs, man.
Kuschak was caught a little more than 2 miles from the crime scene. As detectives now work to figure out a motive, neighbors like Glover are breathing a sigh of relief.
Good. I'm best and fastest I ever seen them. And the catching as fast as they did.
And the investigation continues, especially including a motive as to why those 2 were stabbed and killed. Now, that information, to make sure that we are accurate here, we just heard that she was 4 years old, not a 5-year-old, but still a very young victim. We also learned that all 3 of them, the 2 victims and the suspect, had just moved here from Guatemala within the last 3 to 7 months. We also learned that Kuschak made multiple calls to family and friends, trying to find someone willing to help him out. Sheriff Chad Chronister tells us that every single person said they won't help him. Reporting live, Jada Williams, ABC Action News.
All right, so let's go on to right. Let's do this one here. I think this is the same one. Let's go here.
First up here at 6, it's a crime scene the sheriff described as gruesome. The violent murders of a woman and her 4-year-old daughter yesterday at a mobile home in Dover. Now tonight, you see the man believed to be responsible for that. He has been arrested thanks to some dedicated work by the Hillsborough County deputies. Fox 13's Ariel Placencia joining us live now from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. And Ariel, it took deputies almost 24 hours to find this dangerous suspect.
That's right, Chris. The sheriff says that the 911 call actually came in 2 hours after the crime itself, so the suspect had a head start. Now, detectives eventually found him in a heavily wooded area just a couple of miles away from the crime scene. And tonight, body cam video is showing us the moment that he was arrested.
There was nowhere that this murderer would be able to hide that we wouldn't find him.
The search for Angel Kuzchak began around 5:30 p.m. Wednesday. Deputies were called out to a mobile home on Sumner Road in Dover, where they found a woman and her 4-year-old daughter dead.
We now know that he stabbed these 2 victims.
The young child, Estrella Anastasia Petkak, was not related to the suspect, who was, however, romantically involved.
I mean, why would you unalive the kid? And it's just bullshit. It's just absolutely bullshit. I mean, you got to be crazy. You have to literally be insane.
Involved with her mother, Amalia Kakchak-Depek.
This was a gruesome scene.
Evidence indicated the mother tried to run for help before she was killed, the sheriff said. Kuzchak was nowhere to be found.
We immediately set up a perimeter almost 2.5 to 3 miles wide.
Aviation and K-9 units searched the wooded area overnight and found Kuzchak's bloody shirt. And this morning, an undercover detective spotted the suspect.
Wearing a heavy jacket.
I mean, does it feel like a big man to do that? I mean, it's just I don't know. It makes me angry. People like this.
Almost like a parka jacket. So he sees this Hispanic male walking out of what is almost like an abandoned barn.
Knowing that he'd been spotted, the sheriff said Kuzchak ran away again. But K-9 units were able to track him down.
Yeah, we can't see him. He's in thick stuff.
Body cam video shows deputies closing in on the suspect, who was hiding in a heavily wooded area about 2 miles away from the crime scene.
Give me your hands now. You better show them to me now.
Detectives worked their way through overgrown vegetation to arrest him.
Put your hand behind your back.
Video shows one of the K-9s with...
You just hope they resist arrest. I mean, it's just, you do. You just, some of these cases, you just hope they make the wrong move or make one of the cops nervous. It's just unaliving kids. It's just why.
With the suspect's jacket in its mouth.
This murderer?
I mean, unaliving anybody, but kids, 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, this is why.
Will now face the full weight of the criminal justice system for this heinous and vile murders.
The suspect and the 2 victims are from Guatemala, and they had been in the Dover area for about 3 months, I'm told. Meanwhile, the sheriff says that his office doesn't have any information that these 3 people were here legally. Chris?
All right, so that's that case. I saw that one come up last week, and I wanted to cover that. Now I want to go to Gilgo. Did I do this last week? I don't think. All right, so they were searching new areas in the Gilgo Beach murder investigation. They're not sure if it's related to Rex Heuermann, but it's possible. So anybody doesn't know about the Rex Heuermann case, they found that he's connected with 4 of the victims on Gilgo Beach. And now they're looking for, this is in Manorville. So let's go here. Yeah, it's so weird because, that's the problem. When they don't resist arrests, now they got to go to trial and it costs people money, even though everybody knows this guy did this. Just a coward. I agree with this statement right here. Just an absolute coward to do that, for sure.
Incredible work.
Oops. Have a good night, Honeybee. Thank you for coming in. Get some good sleep. I hope you're better. Be careful of those ticks for sure. Let me go here first. I'm going to go. Give me a second here. I want to go. So this is. Whoops.
Workers who were found wrapped in Ocean Parkway on Gilgo Beach. Now, no one has ever been for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. There was some really big news on Long Island when police started searching a wooded area in Manorville. If Manorville sounds familiar, it's because it's the area where remains belonging to Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack were found. Some of their remains, of course, were also found on Ocean.
All right, so I want to do this here. Give me a second. Refresh everybody's. If you bite it back. The problem with ticks is you can't see them until it's too late. I mean, they don't. All right, so not like a mosquito or something where you can feel it around your head and stuff like that. The ticks get in your, they could be crawling up your leg. You would never know it. All right, so here's the. This is the map showing the distance from Rex Heuermann's house to the murder victims, but these are the four here. These are the four that they've definitely tied to him. Amberlynn Costello, Melissa Bartholomew, Brainerd Barnes here, Megan Waterman. But there's these other two over here, and that's where they're searching now. So I just wanted to give people an idea of what's going on here with this, and they're trying to tie these two with these four. In my opinion, he's probably got a lot of explaining to do with other ones, but that's they're doing really good with this guy, and they just need to keep it up. Let me get back to here.
Parkway on Gilgo Beach. Now, no one has ever been charged in their murders. Several New York media outlets, quoting sources, say this search is related to the Gilgo Beach murder investigation. Rex Heuermann, an architect from Massapequa Park in Long Island, is charged with the murders of the Gilgo Four. They, of course, are Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, four sex workers who were found wrapped in camouflage burlap. Heuermann has denied the charges. Here's his lawyer, Michael Brown.
You're talking about a gentleman who has never been arrested before. He's a productive member of society. He's going to work every day. He's supporting his family, and he's incarcerated. And he's claiming he didn't do this. So obviously it's troubling, and he's dealing with it on a day-by-day basis, one day at a time. But he is looking forward to having his day in a court.
So back to what's going on in Manorville.
I don't think anybody feels bad for the guy. I just don't. I know everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but in my opinion, this guy is definitely guilty.
Police spent 2 days searching the area. And as you can see from this video from News 12 Long Island, it was a busy search. The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office will only say the Suffolk County Police Department, the New York
Police Department and the New York State Police are working with the District Attorney's Office in an ongoing investigation. We do not comment on investigative steps while they are underway. So they're basically saying yes, but we can't say it right now.
Police Department and the New York State Police are working with the District Attorney's Office on an ongoing investigation. We do not comment on investigative steps while they are underway. We will make further statements when appropriate. The search was a surprise to people who have followed the case closely.
Well, it was good to see Honeybee. I haven't seen Honeybee in a while. She's a good kid.
Years, including Joe Giacalone, a retired NYPD cold case sergeant and host of True Crime with the Sarge on YouTube.
Yeah, like many people, I was surprised to hear about this when I saw it come over the news wire. But when you take a look at that area, that specifically involves not only Gilgo, but there's also another person that they arrested, a man named John Bitroff years ago, who lived not too far from where this happened. But you had two victims, Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, whose torsos were found in Manorville many years ago. And then the rest of their remains were found in Gilgo when that search was going on. So there's a tie into Gilgo somewhere along the line between Manorville and Gilgo Beach. The question comes down to is who was responsible? And I think that this is quite unusual because just to be narrowing in on a specific area, I think they must have gotten a tip that they felt that was really valuable, and they went all out on this so far.
So what does that say to you? I mean, we have the Gilgo Four who were wrapped in burlap. They were not dismembered, but then we have other victims who were, and their body parts were found on the same stretch as the Gilgo Four, but then also body parts in Manorville. It's just so gruesome. So is this the same person with different MOs in your opinion? What are your thoughts?
Oh, yes, and from the very beginning, I was a one-person serial killer on this whose MO had changed over time. So, for instance, he had to dismember the earlier victims because he picked these young women up off the street, and someone might have seen him get into his car or truck or what have you, and that he would be afraid that they would be able to identify him. Then, as technology changed and burner phones and the internet, like with the Backpage and the Craigslist, there was no need for him to dismember people because it was done totally anonymous, or he thought so at the time. And there was no need to be able to go beyond what he had to do to discard the body. So I think it's been the same person all along. And the issue that comes down to is that the police have a real tough time ahead of themselves because we haven't really heard if there was any DNA found with any of these other cases. And if you remember, Anjanette, there was a big feud between then Police Commissioner Richard Dormer and Thomas Spoda, the district attorney, about how many killers there were.
So you think it's one killer. So does that mean you think it's Rex Heuermann?
Yeah, I believe it's one killer.
My opinion, this guy is probably one of the most prolific serial killers in, especially on the East Coast, in a long time. And when they hopefully find this guy guilty of some of these, they release his DNA, and he's going to be, this is just my opinion, charged with a lot more.
From the very beginning, listen, cops don't believe in coincidences. And I think you ask almost every cop out there, they'll say, everything.
This guy, by the way, Jack Alone, he's awesome. He's just awesome. I try to watch him as much as possible. But he doesn't need my, my plug. He's just a good guy. Very smart.
Everything ends up in Gilgo Beach. That's ground zero for everything or everybody. And whoever was responsible for all these cases, that was his area, so to speak. So if he passed by it or drove by it, that's what would give him the thrill. And that's why he probably took pieces from other victims and left them there. Because remember, you also have Peaches that was in Hempstead. You have Karen, and that's basically what
as you saw in News 12 Long Island's video, dogs were scouring that area in Manorville. So how successful could that search be if it is related to the Gilgo Beach investigation?
Believe it or not, the cadaver dogs can go back sometimes as much as 20 years. And they actually requested the NYPD to bring in extra dogs too because the area was so big. So there's apparently a lot of different dogs. The state police were there. NYPD was there. Suffolk County. I'm sure the FBI was there too. I didn't see any of the jackets.
See, the thing is that, these guys will change their MOs. I mean, they'll change up their MOs depending on the situation. I mean, and sometimes they do that to try to throw the police off.
But I can almost assure you that they were there also, probably Parks Department. Anybody on that task force, any agency on that task force, it was there today, and they're probably still there now going through all of those areas.
Josh Zeman is a documentarian who has covered the Gilgo case very closely. Josh, your reaction to this surprise search in Manorville?
Yeah, they have an awful lot of resources out there. Police helicopters, news helicopters, canine units, multiple canine units, different search parties from numerous different law enforcement departments. So it's quite a big search out there. We had heard reports that a neighbor had found a body, but we haven't seen the medical examiner, we haven't seen anthropologists or the crime scene unit out there. So that leads us to believe that they haven't quite found anything yet, but the amount of law enforcement out there is definitely surprising.
The big question, and nobody will answer it, but a lot of outlets in New York City are quoting sources who say that this is indeed related to the Gilgo Beach investigation. And there are many sets of remains out there.
I'd be shocked if it's not. I literally would be. If it's not, then there's two people kind of unaliving people in the same area at the same time, which would be even worse, I think. Right?
there on Gilgo Beach where no one has been charged in those homicides. We know Rex Huerman, of course, has been charged with the Gilgo 4. That's a specific set of victims who were found along Gilgo Beach. But the big question is, do they believe this is related to Rex Huerman, or do they believe that there's more than one suspect who's been dumping bodies along Gilgo Beach?
They can believe things all they want. They still got to find the evidence, So first thing you got to do is find the bodies and then find the evidence.
I mean, that's the question that we asked on our show many years ago. How can it be? You have two sets of remains, Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor, found in 2000 and 2003 in Manorville. And then you have the same body parts found in Gilgo Beach next to what is known as the Gilgo Beach 4, which Rex Huerman has been charged with. So are those remains the same perpetrator? Did Rex do those crimes?
Right. Are you talking about Rex Huerman, buddy?
As well, or are we dealing with a second serial killer? I know it sounds strange, but there's been numerous serial killers acting in Long Island at the same time. Robert Schulman and Joel Rifkin were both operating at the same time.
I remember Rifkin.
What leads us to believe that it may be two different serial killers is the fact that the MOs are very different. The Gilgo Beach were found whole and intact, and these women were tragically dismembered. So that's one question. The other question is, why dump some body parts in one part of Long Island and some body parts in another part of Long Island?
And that's the key question here. And Joe Giacalone, who we heard from earlier.
See, the problem with this case is going to be they took so long, right? They had all the information early on, and then they just stumbled. A lot of people think it was because of corruption and stuff like that. But anytime you give these guys an option or a lead out, I don't know if they'll ever solve all of them, but they're doing a good job picking up the pieces from, the other jerks.
In the show says that he thinks it's one killer who changed MOs, but these
Yes.
are two very different MOs. I mean, I don't want to sound gruesome, but dismembering a body
I think I vaguely remember that, buddy. Not sure.
it takes a lot of work. But that's just the way it is. If you've ever covered a dismemberment case, this is how they describe it in court. I mean, it is not easy to get rid of a body. The Gilgo 4, that is a very specific MO. These women are tied up. They are bound or wrapped in camouflage burlap. Very distinctive.
Yep.
These are sets of remains.
No shit. That's terrible.
In different spots, dismemberments. So that's the big question here. Do you change MOs if you are indeed a serial killer? Do you try one thing and think, oh, that's not working out, so let's try this, I'll just do it this way?
Or do you get lazy? Do you have all these what's called forensic countermeasures early in the process? Jessica Taylor, for example, tragically had a tattoo. Basically, someone had tried to almost scratch it out.
I'm eventually going to do that. I'm eventually going to go probably the top 10 SKers of all time and do some sort of a breakdown biography of the top 10 SKers of all time. It's a lot of work, but I've always wanted to do that.
Off her body. That's so you prevent identification. So, did the killer basically decide, well, I haven't been caught, so I don't need to go through all these different countermeasures in an effort to conceal the identity of the body? They haven't caught me, so I can just therefore not take so much time with these other victims. That is entirely true.
Because the interesting thing about SKers is they're all a little different in how they operated and how they did things. Unaliving is kind of the same, but everybody had different types of ways they did things.
Especially for somebody who's been operating on Long Island for so long. I mean, we're talking about Valerie Mack, who was found in 2000, and then 11 years later, her other remains are found on Gilgo Beach. So that's definitely likely that the serial killer could have just changed his MO.
Awesome. That's good to know, man. That's awesome. I'm probably going to start off with the Boston Strangler. I'm not sure, but that case seems to be solved, but yet not solved.
But also, why is somebody dumping body parts in one place versus another of the same victim? That's another. Is it forensic countermeasure? Is there something else going on here? So it's a real big question. Are we dealing with one serial killer or two?
It is a big question, and one we hope to have answered. But as you mentioned, I mean, they've got the NYPD out there assisting with this. Suffolk County needed more resources, so they brought in the NYPD to assist them. You know, Ray Tierney, the DA out there, if let's say there are two killers, he's got a mess on his hands. I mean,
No doubt, absolutely. I'll definitely hook up.
let's say that there are indeed two serial killers. That I don't know how they're going to, with the remains found. So, you know, in different areas, I don't know if they've got any DNA. I don't know why they're out there again. They must think there's another body out there or other evidence. They've got the dogs out. So that to me says they think there are other remains in Manorville.
I would agree with you. The fact that there's so many resources must mean that it's something fairly credible. And look, we were in that area. We went through that.
That guy, the guy that was, I think he was caught here in New Hampshire, but he was from Australia, had dual citizenship, and he would lure the girls to a modeling thing. He was actually very wealthy. They caught him up here. I forget the guy's name all the time. He was crazy, that guy.
That area with Timothy Bolger, the editor of the Long Island Press, a number of years ago, looking at it. It's a spot where people dump bodies. Numerous bodies have been found there over the years. It's also an area used by hunters. You know, it's a likely place to dump a body. Then there's the other issue that comes into play, which is there was another individual in Manorville named Bitroff who has also been charged and convicted of killing two women. So, and he
is this the guy you're talking about? Necessarily evil.
Lived very close by, so it is a real mess out there. And if it is two serial killers, that really puts the Rex Heuermann case in jeopardy.
Talk to me a little bit about Bitroff. Tell me more about him.
Bitroff was convicted of killing two women, sex workers again, a very different MO, but he happened to live very close to Manorville, where Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor were found. He was convicted of those crimes, and people have always wondered whether or not he may be related in some fashion to the Gilgo Beach victims. Now, we know that Rex Heuermann's DNA was found on the Gilgo Beach 4. So everybody's just trying to figure out, is Bitroff connected in some way, shape, or form, or is there just a lot of individuals going around tragically killing these women? And the other issue is we don't know some of the other.
Bitroff, right? Yeah, I remember they were trying to connect him with this to the Gilgo Beach's murders, but I don't think they were ever able to get enough evidence on him.
Victims who are found on Ocean Parkway. If we knew their names, maybe that could help us get more insight into this case and ultimately find out who's responsible for killing those individuals.
It is an interesting question, and the MOs are so distinctively different, but it doesn't mean they can't be connected. But certainly there could be two killers, there could be one, I don't know, there could be three. But this has sparked a lot of interest. It's piqued my interest. I want to know what is going on. But really, the tragedy here, you know, these families of these women deserve answers, and they deserve to know what happened to their loved ones and who did it. And so they've been waiting a long time for these answers. And hopefully, Josh, I know you hope, as I do, that those answers will come soon.
Absolutely. I'm glad to see that Suffolk County PD is taking these cases seriously and putting a lot of effort.
Yeah, no doubt. I just think the key these days is DNA. If you got DNA, you're pretty much going to get a conviction. It's just not the way it used to be, where a lot of circumstantial evidence will do it. And that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time believing 12 jurors are going to, agree with the Richard Allen thing, because I don't really think there's a lot of DNA. But you never know. In New York, it's a little different because there have been two people at the same time, so it's a little different.
Into investigating, finding answers. And, one interesting thing, I interviewed Richard Dormer, who was the police commissioner who has since passed away. I interviewed him for a long time, and we talked about the serial killer case. This was far earlier, before they knew who Rex Heuermann was. And during the interview, I said, after the interview was over, I said,
I think it was the Night Stalker. Was it the Night Stalker? I'm pretty sure it was the Night Stalker. He wasn't called the Night Stalker at first. He was called something else, and then he ended up moving out of the area and doing things other places in San Francisco, I think. And then they finally changed his name to the Night Stalker because he wasn't as specific to that one area anymore.
Was there any question that I didn't ask that you would have wanted to comment on? And
But there was another guy at the time that was kind of, I think it was him. I think it was during the Night Stalker where somebody else was doing stuff too.
He said, you didn't ask me if there were any more bodies out there on Long Island. And I think there are. So I think that's the question. Are we going to find even?
Yeah, I think they I forget what they called him. Golden State, not the Golden State Killer. He was specific to a certain area in Los Angeles, and then he started unaliving people in San Francisco. And back then they weren't so obligated to share information until they ended up putting it in a database. That's when they connected the two. But he was the Night Stalker was called something else before he was called the Night Stalker, because there was another guy at the same time doing some similar things. I think that was him. Not sure.
More victims.
That is the question, and we'll see if we can get some more information about the search that's ongoing, and whether or not they actually do find other remains. And it would take some time if these remains are.
Might be the Golden State Killer. I'm not sure. It could be. It could very well be. I know one of them. There was somebody else at the time that was kind of doing the same kind of thing, and they thought there were two different people. I think it might have been the Golden State Killer. All right, I want to go here to this one. This is out in Oklahoma. This happened last week too, so I wanted to do this. And we'll get into this too. This is an awful crime. Yeah, D'Angelo. Yep. It could be. I'll have to look that up again. So this happened, just another unbelievable. 5 unalived in Southwest Oklahoma. And these people were just normal people, man.
More about an active murder investigation in a Yukon neighborhood. 5 people, including 2 children, found dead in a home in Southwest Oklahoma City near 29th and Czech Hall.
So this write-up, this was done 2 days ago. This news story here, but we'll go through before that and after that.
Mustang Schools confirmed today both children were students, one in 6th grade, the other in 9th grade.
So horrible. Investigators have been at the house.
Hey, it's Heather Brown. How are you? How's Heather Brown doing? Yeah, this is the mass unaliving in Oklahoma. Yeah, it's just, yeah, there's a lot going on in Oklahoma right now. This happened last week.
since 9:30 this morning. And News 4's Tanner De Leon is there now, where police still have the area blocked off. The investigation continues. Tanner.
Well, that's exactly right. You can see behind me the
That's okay, Heather. That's fine. Good to have you here for as long as you're here. Yeah, Oklahoma's a hotbed right now for unalivings, for sure.
police cars still blocking off this area onto the street. Police presence still heavy around the house as well. We also saw 2 medical examiner vehicles pull in about 2 hours ago, and they have yet to leave the home. So that's something developing.
Yes, you're awesome, Heather. Thank you we missed you too, for sure.
As well. And
you okay? You well? You doing all right? I hope you're doing all right.
Throughout the day, neighbors, homeowners, they've been coming in and out, trying to get updates, seeing what's going on. And I was able to speak with one neighbor who says he knew the family well, and he never expected something like this to happen.
Nobody expected it. It was very shocking. You know, like I said, they were a great family.
Just after 9:30 Monday morning, a call to 911 notifying police of 5 dead people, 2 of which are children, inside of a home in the Czech Hall Estates neighborhood, southwest Oklahoma City.
When officers arrived, they made entry into the home and did indeed find 5 people in there who are deceased. The 5 people had injuries all consistent with homicide.
Yes, it did.
They were good friends of ours. They come down all the time. We kind of had hangouts together.
Brian knew the family well. He says he never would have expected anything like this to happen.
Their kids were their kids' friends, like best friends. So they enjoyed being with each other, and they all went to school together.
While the details of what exactly happened are being sorted out, Brian says life won't be the same after today.
We really going to miss them. We really wish this wouldn't have happened.
Well, police haven't released any information about what exactly happened
Not too great. Found a lump and haven't been to the doc yet. Kind of a lump. We all got you. What kind of a lump? Oh, that's awful. You better go to a doctor, no?
inside the home, only describing the murders as violent. There's also been no mention of a suspect, at least what they're looking out for currently. But of course, as we work,
You got to keep me posted on that, Heather.
as we learn more, we will always bring you the latest updates. But for now, in Southwest Oklahoma City, Tanner De Leon, Oklahoma's News 4.
All right, I'm going to play this here. This is really chilling because I saw this one here. This guy and this woman. Well, you'll see.
As you heard, the details surrounding this murder-suicide are just heartbreaking. There's really no other way to put it.
McIntyre Law Chopper 4 over the scene yesterday.
Well, I'm thinking about you for sure. You need to have it checked. You will. Definitely. Hey, Dean, how's it going, buddy? Thinking about you, Heather, for sure.
All 5 members of the family found dead inside their home.
Tonight, the details of what happened are clear, but the why is still unknown and may never.
Well, this one was done a day ago.
Be known. News 4's Taylor Mitchell is live tonight. Taylor.
Well, no reports were filed at the courthouse today, but we.
Oh, you're welcome, Heather. Definitely thinking about you now for sure. Keep me posted for sure, please.
Do you know the youngest child survived? Police tell us he's the one who notified authorities.
It's unclear what made him want to go through the home, killing the children, but make no mistake about it. What happened in that residence was nothing short of a massacre. Those children were hunted down and killed after the woman was killed.
A murder-suicide, leaving 5 family members dead inside an Oklahoma City home Monday morning.
It's unknown if it was planned.
This is going to be triggering.
or if it was something spontaneous.
Investigators say the suspect, Jonathan Candy, shot his wife, Lindsay, and 3 of his children, Dylan, Ethan, and Lucas Candy.
Investigators determined that sometime overnight, the husband and father in the home, Jonathan Candy, became involved in an altercation with his wife, Lindsay.
If you need anything at all, Heather, just let me know. Okay.
At some point, he
Heather's a great person. Heather Brown is amazing. An amazing person.
armed himself with a gun. He shot her multiple times, killing her. At that point, he systematically went through the home, shooting and killing their children.
In the home during the time of the shootings, Candy's youngest son, the 10-year-old, not hurt, the sole survivor.
He had apparently been asleep the whole time. Again, it's unclear why he was left alone.
Police say the 10-year-old woke up to find all of his family.
He's all by himself now. I mean, the 10-year-old, just to live his life without the rest of his family, it's just horribly sad.
Members shot to death, and he is who called 911.
The child was placed with a relative.
I'm serious too. If you need anything, you just let me know. Sure.
Take care of him.
Discover Oklahoma interviewing the couple in 2022 about one of their favorite bakery and deli shops in Yukon.
I come here twice a week in the morning just for their breakfast burritos, which are by far anything better than you can get around.
So that's the guy right there. That's the guy. That's his wife. This guy just basically gunned down his whole family, except for the 10-year-old.
Around here, I love the carrot cake. I don't eat a lot of sweets, even with my last name, but I love the carrot cake.
I like the cannoli. The cannoli are good.
News 4 confirming with an OKC Thunder.
He looks normal. The guy looks absolutely normal. You would never, unless you're trained, you'd never think, anything different really.
Official that Jonathan worked as a part-time game night engineer for the Thunder. Now the community is mourning the loss of their family and friends.
They were a great.
That guy worked as a part-time game. Look at this house. I don't know. How much do they part-time game engineer make? It's, this is a nice house here.
Community is mourning the loss of their family and friends.
They were a great family.
Neighbors shocked.
They come down all the time. We kind of had hangouts together. Their kids were their kids' friends, like best friends. So they enjoyed being with each other, and they all went to school together.
That's who he looks like. That's who. You're perfect. Chris Watts. Absolutely. That's exactly who that looks like.
We really going to miss them. We really wish this wouldn't have happened.
And police confirming they have no history of any records reporting domestic abuse coming from the family.
We have no calls to that residence regarding any type of domestic abuse.
Well, police still don't know any type of motive. They fear that they may never know why this all happened. I did talk with Jonathan's cousin, who talked about how their lives are shattered. They're very confused by this news. She talked about how Jonathan used to love to joke. He even talked about how he loved his family so much, saying that his kids and his wife were his entire life. We have that full statement on our website at KFOR.com here very shortly. But for now, reporting live in Canadian County, Taylor Mitchell, Oklahoma, News 4.
Okay, Taylor, just unreal.
All right, so that's that there. Give me a second here. People are nuts, man. I'm telling you, people are just absolutely crazy. He was obviously, let's do this one here. Hold on a second. Give me a second here. I'm going to go to this here. Yeah, let's do this here. Hold on a second. All right, so I'm going to switch to this one here. And then I might come back to that in a second here. But this this also happened to. Hold on a second. Let's go to this one here.
Noah never made it home from that party. On Labor Day, September 4th, he was found dead less than a mile away on the side of a rural.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. He's suffering from some sort of depression or something. That other guy. I'll go back to that in a second. So, family of teen found unalive naked along the highway last year, and the family is still looking for answers here. This was done 8 days ago. Family of teen found unalive at Oklahoma City Highway says there are no answers about what happened to him. 19-year-old Noah Presgrove was found lying unalived, wearing nothing but shoes on a rural stretch of US 81 in Jefferson County on Labor Day in 2023. Presgrove's sister, Madison Rawlings' cousin, Ashley Chadwick, and aunt Robin Smith joined Banfield. So I remember hearing about this here. So here we go.
Highway. He was naked except for his shoes, and to this day, nobody knows what happened to him. I should say that Noah's family doesn't know. And if police know, they are doing a great job of hiding it. The Oklahoma State Bureau
Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it.
of Investigation declared his death suspicious, but they've released almost no other details. Same with the Highway Patrol. The funeral home did give Noah's family a preliminary death certificate and listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma, but that's not official, and it's not confirmed either. And it's now been 7 agonizing months. I'm joined now by Noah's sister and his cousin and his aunt, Madison Rawlings, Ashley Chadwick, and Robin Smith. Thank you to all three of you for being on the program tonight. And may I just say, I am so incredibly sorry for what your family is going through. I cannot imagine just how traumatic it is and how stressful it is while you're trying to grieve. So I'm very appreciative that you came on the program tonight. Madison, can I begin with you? These last 7 months, what are the authorities telling you when you ask them for answers?
Really, all we get is we're working on it. It's a small community. We don't want it out. We don't want any of our leads to get messed up, or we just keep it quiet for now. It's pretty quiet on our end and on the officers' ends as far as we know.
But is there no victim's advocate who's like working with you and at least helpful to you to guide you through this process?
And no, ma'am, we have not been assigned a victim advocate at all.
Are you upset with the authorities in how they've treated you? And do you feel that they really are continuing this investigation and that they're keeping things close to their vests for good reason?
I want to believe that in my heart. I want to understand that they are doing their job and that I just need to trust the process, and they do this more than me ever. And so I think there's that hopefulness that as long as I believe, they believe, and everything is going to figure itself out. But I think as time continues on and we see nothing month after month after month, that when that hope dies, what comes next? And if I'm not proactive now, well, then did I miss my opportunity to get some more help?
Ashley, let me ask you about the same question in terms of asking for regular updates, not getting any. What actually do they say? Like, what sort of verbiage do they use to try to assuage your concerns, your understandable concerns?
As far as assuaging our views on what is being done, there's nothing. We're working on it, and that's it. That's pretty much it. That's what they leave it at. There's no elaboration, nothing. So that's what we're going off of. And, there's feelings of frustration, sometimes, and aggravation And that's kind of where we're at. I mean, a lot of us go through the process of grieving, where we were sad, and some are going through the process of being angry.
So, Robin, the preliminary death certificate that mentions the blunt force trauma, that's from the funeral processing, but not from the authorities. Why did they even give that to you? For what purpose would they have done that, but not for you to just be more frustrated that you can't get the final answer?
So, well, in Oklahoma, the preliminary death certificate does come from the state. It's just not complete. It's not signed off on by the state. And it won't be until the investigation is finished and the official cause of death is listed.
Are you, I mean, I'm imagining you're as frustrated as anyone else, in the family, but do you make regular attempts to call the medical examiner and ask for cause of death, manner of death, any of the above, any information at all, Robin?
There's been multiple attempts to reach out to the ME. They've told us that it's pending investigation. They cannot release a report until investigation is done.
We were just looking at pictures of Noah. He's just such a lovely looking kid. It's such a tragedy. Madison, these friends at the party.
GH did a huge thing on this kid here. I remember that's where I heard about it. It was suspicious at the time.
It seemed like a raging party, and they do what lots of teenagers do. They mess around, they slap each other. But in one picture, we noticed that there was a teenager holding a long gun. Is there any suspicion at all? Is anyone addressing that? And are these party goers helping you and telling you what they know?
As far as telling us what they know, whenever everything first happened, everyone had their own rumor. They had their own opportunities to come talk to the family, and a few did come to the house and chat with us. But since then, it's been pretty quiet. No one speaks to anybody really. And I think as far as the gun, it was brought up to the investigators and stuff, but since there was no indication of him being shot that we know of, I don't think that they really looked into it that far.
Did the kids have at least stories that corroborated each other? Meaning, did it feel as though they were telling you the truth about everything they knew?
No, ma'am. We did not get told the same story by any children.
And sometimes we got told different stories by the same.
Well, I got good news for you, Dean. That case is not going to be done for a long time. Delphi is not going to be over for a while.
Kid, so he would come and tell us one story, and then a few days later we'd get a completely different story.
Hey, Miranda Lee, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see Miranda in the chat. Hope you're doing well, Miranda.
And do the police know about?
So we're just going over the story about this teen that was found unalive last year along a highway around Labor Day. This is the family speaking out here because there's a little bit more information coming out about what happened to him.
About this, were they all questioned by the police? Did they all give statements?
Not that we're aware.
No, they were questioned by the police on the second or third day. They haven't been questioned since. There was inconsistencies.
Have you been able to tell the police? Sorry to interrupt. Have you been able to tell the police that you've been getting different stories?
Yes.
Well, at least they know that. I mean, that's something. Robin, as Noah's aunt, what would you like everybody watching to know about your nephew?
He was ferocious in life. He embraced it. He didn't hold grudges. He loved life. He had fun. He didn't let anything get to him. He just was so forgiving. He was just such a sweet kid. He was so fearless. He would just be standing there and do a flip in front of you straight off the ground. He was just such a good kid. He had such a good outlook on life. He had so much going for him, and he was a light.
And he was going to serve in the military as well. Ashley, do you want to add to that?
Yes. Noah was a lot of fun, and
I'm doing all right. It's been a long week. It's getting warmer out now here a little bit, so that's good news. We need some good weather here. It's been pretty awful. Other than that, though, I'm doing good.
and he was goofy. He was silly.
It's always good to see all you guys in chat. I really appreciate all you guys for coming by for sure. I know there's probably a lot of other good things you could be doing right now besides this.
He just had that personality that people gravitated to, and that's why he did have such a big friend base, you know, and people that stuck with him for a long time as a friend. And as for what the
hell was that all about? Oh, let's just smack the guy. That's pretty good.
big friend base, you know, and people that stuck with him for a long time as a friend. And as for what the world to remember him, he would give the shirt off his back. He was willing to help. He's helped people in the family do things.
Whack. It's pretty good.
Handiwork. He was amazing, and he was as big of a heart that he had. He was even.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, man. Love you right back. Have the windows open tonight, letting the air into my house. Yeah, that's a good idea for sure. Cabin fever is really bad here. We need good weather and we need to get outside for sure. This has been brutal.
Been bigger on forgiveness.
The groundhog lied again. It wasn't an early spring, that's for sure.
So he was just great.
One of my teammates just said, may we all be as ferocious in life as Noah. We'll stay on this, and you stay in touch with us and let us know what's happening in this investigation.
All right, I want to play this one here too, and then we're going to move on to one more thing, and then
Age of 19. Investigators still haven't said how it happened or who might be responsible or really much of anything other than the death is suspicious. Tonight, we learned from Noah's family that when the teenager was found on the side of a highway back on Labor Day, the back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His fingertips were shredded. He was naked, except for a pair of mismatched shoes, one belonging to him and the other belonging to a friend. I'm joined now by Joseph Scott Morgan, a certified death investigator.
what the hell is going on with shoes, right? Riley case with the shoes, and then now here with the shoes. I remember this one because, like I said, GH was covering it, and then I started looking into it too, but I thought they had figured it out, but apparently not.
Distinguished scholar at Jacksonville State University. So, all right, Joe, I want to go over that list. I want to pop it up on the screen, just sort of as a guide here, because with your prism and how you look at things, I thought maybe this would tell a story that we're not seeing. Start with this. The back of his head was caved in. Some of his teeth were missing and scattered where he was found. His nose and his cheeks appeared broken. His body.
Thanks, man. I'll take that as a compliment. Worst news, but that's awesome. That's too funny. Stephen Smith, yeah.
Seemed beaten and swollen. His fingertips were torn up. There was gravel under.
Has there been any other news on that Stephen Smith kid? I haven't heard anything since Steve was out there. I haven't heard anything new about that. I'll have to look into that.
His nails. There was road rash on his hip and gravel rash on his shoulder. We're working on getting the list up, but I know that you have a good memory. So, Joseph Scott Morgan, what does that tell you?
Yeah, this large
kid
injury that Noah sustained to the back of his head is interesting to me, because that is likely a point of impact, perhaps. Now, that impact can arise from any number of things. falling from a moving vehicle as a pedestrian, maybe being pushed out. It could also arise from an attack that preceded being left on the side of the road. So for us in forensics, it's very important to examine that particular injury very carefully, and at the risk of being too gruesome here.
Yeah, Stephen Smith is the one related to the murder thing. I don't know if it's related, but it's people have speculated that. I just wondered if there was any news on that, because that was.
We would shave the head in that area to pick up on any particular pattern. Sometimes the road will produce stuff, but you can also have instruments that are used. Blunt trauma is what we're talking about here, Ash. And you look for that abraded pattern there. So that's something that we would certainly look at, particularly as it applies to this head injury. It sounds horrible.
I think you and I did a couple of cases together where there's a lot of talk about.
Yeah, I was definitely talking with people with their shoes on. Yeah, that's possible that he might have fallen out of the truck.
Specific geographic locations of dirt or gravel. Dirt here is not the same as dirt 15 blocks down the road. And so would there be an interest in figuring out the gravel that was found on his hip, the gravel that was found on his shoulder versus the gravel where he was actually discovered?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Forensic geology is what comes into play here. You begin to think about this area and the topography.
Hey, Jocelyn, how are you? Good to see you. I saw you over there in Southern Gals chat. She had another awesome show tonight. Awesome talking about the bands thing, for sure. Yeah, I think this is suspicious here. This is not... It could be an accident, but I don't know, about 60-40 on this here.
Also the composition of the local soil. And we're talking about a roadbed too. So folks at home will get an idea of what's referred to as like pea gravel. It's kind of the bed that's laid down. You can see it on the shoulders of the road. So I would want to make sure that anything that is recovered or was recovered from Noah's remains actually marries up with what you're seeing at that site, or did this occur elsewhere? That's going to be very, very important here in this particular case, because I got to tell you, Ashley, I've worked a lot of cases over my career where we've had bodies that were dumped along the side of the road because it's convenient for that to happen.
Yeah. The other thing is the investigator told the family, this has to be quick, but the gravel rash happened first and the road rash happened when someone placed him on the highway. That's what the investigators intimated to the family. What does that mean?
Well, the road rash itself that they're talking.
She's absolutely awesome. Southern Gal is awesome. I enjoyed that extra thing she did tonight on her other channel. She must be exhausted.
About that almost sounds like a dragging event, Ash, and you'll get these kind of striated abrasions that.
It's Arctic Fox, True Crime. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Good to see you again, man.
Come along with that. It's very distinctive when you take a look at this, and that's the transfer.
Arctic Fox has got a great channel too. He's been hello, Lisa Joe. How are you? He's been spitting out some good missing people thing. I've been trying to. Hey, it's Southern Gal. I was just talking about you. Some missing persons cases, and I try to repost everyone that he sends out. Glad to see that other case over there in Washington turned out good. Well, not good for the person that kidnapped and unalived the people, but good for the 1-year-old.
For the surface, the friction of the surface.
So I'm just going over this here because this was a big story back in early fall here with this kid. So they're getting some more information of what happened to him here.
Surface to the underlying skin. And keep in mind, and I got to say this, look, you're talking about a kid here that's completely nude. One of the things that I'm going to do anytime, it doesn't matter if male or female, doing a rape kit.
Feel free to post your channels in here. Anybody that's got a channel, anybody that wants to post a channel, Southern Gal's great. Arctic Fox is great. Anybody that's got a channel, anybody that wants to post a channel, go right ahead.
Going to do a rape kit. And I know that they said that they found underwear adjacent. I want to know the status of that underwear as well. Was it ripped away? Was it twisted and torn? That's something that we see in motor vehicle accidents. I want to know how the underwear got off his body, and I want to know where the rest of his clothing is.
I mean, it could come down to a drunk driving type thing, you know.
I'm going to have you back because there's a whole other page that I want to go
Anytime.
over with you regarding
You bet.
the scene of the party and the forensics there. So this conversation's not over. Joe Scott, thank you so much. Always love having you.
But if I had to bet, if I was a betting person, it's probably suspicious. Something probably got out of hand or, all right. So I do want to do this too, because this is interesting here. And let me share this here. I don't know a lot about this case yet here, but it's very, very interesting. And it's going to be part of a 48 hours special here. This is about Kristen Trickle, autopsy of the mind. So let me give you a little background on this here. New 48 hours investigating, looking into the death of an unaliving of a Kansas woman after she was found dying from a GS wound in 2019. The coroner initially ruled Kristen Trickle's unaliving as a S, but the local prosecutor said evidence on the scene didn't add up. So this is a very interesting thing here. I'm going to try to deep dive this week here and look into it a little bit more. So let's go.
This woman after she was found dying from a gunshot wound in 2019. Now, the coroner initially ruled Kristen Trickle's death a suicide, but the local prosecutor said evidence on the scene did not add up. 48 Hours correspondent Aaron Moore.
Thank you, Southern Gal. Appreciate it. Both your channels are awesome. Arctic Fox is great. You're great. Yep.
Abby has that story.
In the early morning hours of Halloween 2019, Colby Trickle called 911.
My wife shot herself.
Trickle said he woke up to his ears ringing and saw his wife Kristen bleeding next to him in bed. Sergeant Brandon Hauptman quickly responded.
They met us on the porch.
Exactly where's the house?
It's right here. It's this one with red and white.
Hey, police.
She's out on bail. How did she get out on bail? Oh my God. That's annoying.
Department.
Inside the house, Hauptman found Colby's wife Kristen clinging to life.
I kind of focused in on her jaw moving. I could see the movement of her jaw.
Kristen Trickle couldn't be saved. 3 days later, after an autopsy, the coroner ruled Kristen's death a suicide. But prosecutor Aaron Cunningham questioned if Kristen could have fired the large caliber revolver that killed her. You have a replica or a very similar type of.
Who the hell has the money to post a $1.5 million bail? I mean, good Lord. It's, ugh. It's a what are they charging her with? Are they charging her a manslaughter? I got to look into that. Oh, good for you, Jocelyn. I'll have to check that out. I don't really post anything either.
Gun. Can you show it to me?
Sure.
How large? Oh,
It's pretty hefty, as you can tell. It's a hand
I'm a
cannon.
little surprised.
Yeah. It's awkward to maneuver, not something you'd easily turn on yourself.
He thinks Colby Trickle killed his wife.
I do not believe he did it.
Colby Trickle's attorney, Cassie Ziegler, points out that Colby didn't hesitate to call 911.
When he called 911, she was still showing signs of life.
To try to resolve the issue, authorities tried something new and ordered a very different type of autopsy.
What time, Southern Gal? Absolutely. Yes. Depends on the time. I got to work tomorrow night, but yeah, I will for sure.
An autopsy of Kristen's mind. So basically, this is a psychological.
So they want to do an autopsy of Kristen Trickle's mind.
Showing signs of life.
To try to resolve the issue, authorities tried something new and ordered a very different type of autopsy, an autopsy of Kristen's mind. So basically, this is a psychological autopsy trying to figure out the state of mind of a person who died. That's difficult to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And had this ever been done in the state of Kansas before?
Never in a criminal case, no.
Yeah, if you do it around 8, I could probably be on for a half an hour for sure. Yep, absolutely.
All right. So Aaron is joining us now in studio 57. Aaron, a psychological autopsy. I had never heard of that before.
I never had either. I had heard they'll do an analysis of a defendant to determine whether he was sane or insane at the
Right.
time of death. This was very different. It's one of the reasons why we did this story. And I understand it because here you have this young woman, single gunshot wound here. The coroner, when he gets there, she has no defensive wounds. She has no, at least apparently, any sign of previous abuse. So how do you determine? There's no real science. And so what they wanted to try to do, and it was highly unusual, it had never been done in the state of Kansas, was to try to determine her state of mind in those hours, those days, those months leading up to her death.
Right.
But the problem and what made it so controversial and contested by the defense was that you couldn't talk to her.
Of course.
I know. And only her husband saw her in those hours leading up. So all you had really was his word. And then this was not done.
What's wrong with your back? I want to throw a bottle of booze in a twister. Yeah.
Done until almost 2 years after she died. So, you know, the big question, were people's memories affected?
Yeah.
You know,
But, you know, the county coroner went to the scene and determined it was a suicide. If the coroner says, based on the evidence, this is a suicide, why didn't it just end there? Why didn't investigators question that?
well, I thought that was really interesting. These were good investigators and they were troubled by the size of the gun. We'll talk about that in the hour because it was a revolver, a very hefty revolver, a 357 with, I didn't
That's a big
measure
gun.
it, but yes.
Yeah.
And investigators told me it was a 12-inch barrel. I mean,
That's long.
yeah, that's so, and it's dark. And was she holding it like? So there were real questions.
Yeah.
She had never talked to anyone about wanting to take her life, and I think that is what made them think we've got to go look. And the study is interesting. I know you've had some questions about it, but I found it a wonderful analysis.
Oh, it sucks, Miranda. You can't take ibuprofen. That's terrible. How about Tylenol? Can you take Tylenol? Yeah, she's very excited. Yeah, it just I am going to look into this because I don't really think that anytime I hear about the S thing, I worry about it. It's usually the husband.
It's weighing the risk factors, what might make her likely to take her life against what they call protective factors, the reasons why you wouldn't take your life.
Interesting. And then the husband, Colby, what evidence was there to indicate that he might have had something to do with this?
You know, sadly, it was really his own stories, his own statements. The most damaging evidence against him was that, and this is a hard thing to say about somebody, he had difficulty telling the truth. He would tell investigators stories that weren't true that he didn't need to tell. You know, he had been in the Army Reserve and he gave these stories about how he had.
I'll tell you, there's very little you can take for back pain anyways. Back pain is, especially fibro, it's, there really isn't anything. It's like, you know, migraine headaches. There's really nothing that they prescribe that can really do anything for you. It's unfortunately.
Had been part of Army intelligence and interviewed informants and none of that.
Nothing beats teeth pain though. When you're having teeth pain, there's, and the last thing you want to do if you got teeth pain is have alcohol, because if you wake up, it'll be double the teeth pain. after the hangover.
Was true.
Wow.
So, you've got a person, if they're not telling the truth about little things, are they telling the truth about the most important thing, about how his wife died?
Yes, Aaron. Another good one. Another really interesting case. Thank you so much. You can watch Kristen Trickle,
That's a good
Autopsy of
doctor.
the Mind on 48 Hours.
When you got a doctor that would rather have you take opioids than Motrin. Dental pain is, no thing. I wouldn't wish I might wish it upon some people, but not a lot of people. All right, let's do this here, and then I'll get out of here. This is teen found online in San Francisco, gone missing in East Bay. This was done 4 days ago. This kind of what's going on. I think it's right around the same time that they found the guy with the 1-year-old boy over there in Washington. Whoops. I did it again. Sorry. Hold on a second. Good thing nobody's paying attention. Good. Let's do this here. All right. So this is streaming now.
On a desperate mission to find out how their 15-year-old daughter turned up dead in San Francisco. They say their questions have been left unanswered. KTVU's Amber Lee, live tonight in the newsroom after meeting with the family. Amber?
Mike, I spoke.
That's the one thing alcohol won't work on is teeth pain. Everything else, yeah. Teeth pain, no.
With the teen's parents and aunt at the site where the teen's body was discovered. There is sadness and frustration. They say they cannot rest until they get answers.
We are asking for people to, if they seen anything, we put out everywhere.
The family of Jasmine Pellegrini of Bay Point is in San Francisco's Ingleside neighborhood where she was found dead. They're searching for answers by passing out flyers, asking for security camera videos of her.
She went missing from Bay Point. Did somebody take her here? But we want to know what happened to her.
The 15-year-old's mother and stepfather, Marta and Sandor Barani.
I mean, teeth pain can be so painful that you would literally feel like driving your car off a cliff. That's how bad it is. Teeth pain is the worst. And you can take an entire bottle of Tylenol. It's not going to help. Nothing will help. I remember one time they took a tooth out for me, and the dentist said, well, you can't smoke and you can't drink coffee for the next 2 days, 3 days. And I'm like, why live then? I mean, if I can't have cigarettes and coffee, you might as well just, what's the sense of living?
Grieve at the site where the 15-year-old was found lying face down in the driveway of a home on Lobo Street Saturday morning around 11:30. The spot now marked with a flower and a flyer from the family.
We definitely need some help.
Yeah, no, don't take an entire bottle of Tylenol. Don't do that. No, for sure.
Somewhere, anywhere.
The couple says they last saw Jasmine 11:30 Wednesday night at their family home and that she left with no phone or money. Jasmine had been released from a psychiatric hospital 3 hours earlier. The family says the teen had been struggling for years with PTSD, bipolar disorder, and anxiety after coping with sexual abuse she suffered as a child. Mom was distraught when she tried to speak about her.
I mean, teeth pain, there's nothing quite like it because you can't like, it's bad. You know when it's dispensary day because around 10 o'clock, 30 Cantina tacos. Doritos. With me, it was Doritos. If I was smoking, you could definitely tell because there's like 3 empty bags of Doritos next to me.
her daughter.
I don't think she can speak anything right now.
Jasmine's parents say she was hospitalized dozens of times in recent years. They say they reported her missing the night she disappeared, but less than 3 days later, she was found dead in San Francisco, a city that the family says was unfamiliar to her. Jasmine spoke Hungarian, telling her mom she loved her in a message the family says she recorded last year. The teen and her family immigrated to the United States in 2019. They say she loved animals, drawing, and baking. Relatives put up a small decorated cross at a park near the spot where Jasmine was found. They say they have no idea how she died, but are concerned that someone may have lured her to the city and that she may have been drugged.
How can we cope? We want answers. We want to know who was with her. We want to know how did she get to San Francisco?
San Francisco police tell me there are no signs of foul play so far, but they are treating this case as a death investigation and they're waiting for the autopsy results. The family tells me the medical examiner's office says it could take up to 90 days for them to determine the cause of death. They say they will do everything they can to find out what happened. Mike?
That was a great question by the mother in the piece. How did she get from the East Bay to San Francisco? I'm wondering if they're looking at, footage from BART, any buses, because the last time she was seen was at home.
It doesn't seem like they're getting a lot of answers. It's just my opinion.
When they allowed her to leave the house for just a short time?
That's correct. And police have not said what exactly they're doing. They did say that there are
I mean, it's not unusual for them not to tell family a lot. So there's that.
Investigating, and along with the medical examiner's office, as far as we know, there's no connection between where she turned up. The family says that Jasmine does not know the city at all and hasn't even been there before, as far as they know.
And at this point, it is SFPD with the lead on this investigation?
Absolutely.
So I'll keep an eye on this. It's a little suspicious to me. One more thing I want to play here. Have a good night, Heather, and you keep me up to date on stuff going on, okay? We love you, kiddo. Let me play this here because I wanted to play this earlier and I couldn't find it. Okay, so this case here has been bothering me for a while here. This was done a day ago. So let's play this here. More details on the missing relatives case from Fayetteville. I think this is in North Carolina. I could be wrong.
In the bizarre missing persons case involving Blake and London Devon.
CBS 17's Justin Moore is digging deeper as this case takes yet another turn.
Fayetteville 911, what's that? Just your emergency?
I need to file a missing persons report.
All right.
I was told to call 911.
Alrighty, yes, ma'am.
That's Avante Devon calling.
Heather Brown is an absolutely wonderful person. Just great person having a chat. It's always good to see her in here. All right, let's go.
Police on this 911 call obtained by cityviewNC.com.
Tell me exactly who's missing.
He'll be 18 May 10th.
So your 17-year-old son is missing?
Yeah.
The 63-year-old made the call on January 19th, 2024, after Blake Devon had been missing. These are the only pictures of Devon, who would be 17, and his sister London, who would be 27 years old, both adopted by Avante. Neither of them have been seen in years. Avante even telling 911 her son is a runaway, and he went to a religious retreat.
I understand you're calling now. What I'm trying to determine is when he told you he was going on a Buddhist retreat and never came home.
It was a year ago.
So January 19th, 2023?
It was somewhere around there, a little before. It was around the holidays, I would say December. It was between Thanksgiving and December.
Earlier this month, investigators searched the Devons' Berrydale home and their old home on Eichelberger Drive. We learned Blake and London were homeschooled, and today we did more digging. We found out a domestic limited liability company in New Mexico is the owner of the home that Avante lives in, listing her as a member and organizer. Court documents also show Avante was in court earlier this week for her 95-year-old mother. The court is in the process of assigning a guardian to her mother, who is in the ICU with a brain injury. The Department of Social Services accusing Avante of potentially exploiting her mother. Police tell us they found human remains at an undisclosed location connected to Blake and London's disappearance. They're waiting for the medical examiner's office to identify the remains. In Fayetteville, Justin Moore, CBS 17 News.
The first missing persons report on Blake Devin came in on January 19th. Fayetteville police and the FBI announced a search for Blake on March 28th. And we later learned London Devin is also missing.
We continue to dig deeper into this case. You can find all of our previous stories, plus that 911 call made by Avante Devin.
That's kind of strange, huh?
Yeah, Lauren, they are casting a wide net. I spoke with the Fayetteville Police Department this afternoon, as well as the FBI. Part of that wide net is focusing on this neighborhood here off of Berrydale Drive or south of 401. They are asking any of you, if you maybe delivered mail here, dropped off an Amazon package in the last several years in this neighborhood, they want to hear from you. This is once again who investigators are looking for. 17-year-old Blake Devin. We found out.
Who's timed out? Who's timed out? Who's being timed out? I don't know. So is this the case you've been following, Southern Gal?
Out he was missing at the end of last month, and 27-year-old London Devin. We don't believe they're biologically related, but they had been taken in by the same foster family years ago. Fayetteville police telling us today the Devin family moved to the area in 2015. In November 2016, they moved to a home in the 1800 block of Eichelberger Drive. They lived there until June 2019. Someone else lives there now and has nothing to do with the disappearance, according to authorities. The Devin family then moved to the 1400 block of Berrydale Drive, where they're currently still living. Investigators asking anyone tonight who visited these addresses, delivered something, bought something, sold something, repaired something, or just saw something to give them a call. Last week, we know some partial remains were discovered in the Fayetteville area by investigators working on this case, but at this point, we don't know for sure if these are those of London.
How is Dean timed out? Where is he? I don't even know if I can fix that. Hold on a second. Okay, so let me know if that changed anything. Let me know if he's back in. I just, I don't know if I fixed that or not.
And Blake. So clearly investigators are still trying to put a timeline together, asking the public for any little bit of information that will help them in this case. If you know anything, if you've been in this neighborhood and delivered that Amazon package, delivered some mail, either call the FBI or the Fayetteville Police Department. We'll be on top of it.
File a missing persons report.
I need to file a missing persons report. That's why I'm calling.
All right.
I was told to call 911.
Alrighty, yes, ma'am. And tell me exactly who's missing.
He'll be 18 May 10th.
So your 17-year-old son is missing?
Yeah.
This January 19th 911 call obtained by CityViewNC.com adds even more confusion to the timeline in which Blake Devin went missing.
He is white, Caucasian with blondish brown hair.
What was he last seen wearing?
Oh, goodness. I don't even know, ma'am. He told me he was going to a Buddhist retreat and never called back.
When was that, ma'am?
A year ago.
So January 19th, 2023?
It was somewhere around that, a little before. It was around the holidays, I would say December. But it was between Thanksgiving and December.
But Fayetteville police soon learned that it was actually August of 2022 that witnesses claim Blake was last seen. Avante tells the dispatcher she last spoke to Blake on the phone. As for his whereabouts at that time,
oh, goodness. I would say a restaurant.
What
I'm just trying to think what's going on. One moment now. I'm trying to backtrack here. Oh, gosh. The neighborhood mart.
The neighborhood mart?
Yes.
more than 2 months after police started investigating, they learned London Devin is also missing and hasn't been heard from in years. The 911 dispatcher continues to try to get as much information as she can, but Avante Devin can't even provide Blake's phone number.
Do you have a good phone number for your son?
No, I don't. I don't have any phone number.
Okay. Do you have the number he called you from?
Oh, goodness, that was a long time ago. I don't have that number. No, I don't even have that phone.
After searching the home, it's another site that police won't reveal that investigators found skeletal remains in mid-April. The state medical examiner's office is still working.
Is Dean all right? Is he back in or? This is really weird. This case is really weird here.
Working to determine whether they belong to Blake, London, or someone else entirely.
Okay, well, that's it. That's the end of that. Did we play this one yet? I think.
Tonight, we're digging deeper into the mysterious missing persons case of Blake and London Devin.
Neither has been seen in years, but we do know they were both homeschooled. Tonight, CBS 17's Justin Moore has more on those homeschool records.
These are some of the only photos of Blake and London Devin. Blake would now be 17 and London 27. London's biological mother tells CBS 17 that
I have no idea about this case. I just came across it on my feed the other day because I got an alert on it. But I'll definitely look into it. It sounds really weird. This is another one of those bizarre cases. Yeah, I don't know where Dean is. I'm sorry, Dean. I tried to fix it. I don't know if I did or not. Obviously not.
Devin family adopted London in 2001, and now we are learning more about the Fayetteville home Blake and London lived in. Neighbors telling us off camera the siblings lived in this Eichelberger Drive home between 2016 and 2019. CBS 17 obtained new documents listing this home as a homeschool with the name Devin Academy. According to state records, it opened in 2007 as a religious homeschool in Buncombe County. August of 2013, someone added 2 students to enrollment, and in March of 2017.
Okay, yeah, so opened in 2007, delegated a religious homeschool in Buncombe County. They added 2 students in 2000, so this is the same year here. So 2013, 2 more kids were added to the enrollment. In 2017, the address changed to Eichelberger Drive in Fayetteville.
The address of the academy changed to this Eichelberger Drive home. I called the number of the administrator listed for the academy.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed has calling restrictions that have prevented the completion of your call.
Nobody has seen Blake or London since moving into this Berrydale home in 2019. Earlier this month, police and FBI searched both homes for the missing siblings. Investigators are now waiting for the recently found human remains connected to this case to be identified. As for the Devon Academy, records show it is still active at the Devon's old address, which another family currently lives in. In Fayetteville, Justin Moore, CBS 17 News.
Now, we've been reporting on the disappearance of the Devons since it became public knowledge last month that they were missing. You can read all about this story on our website, cbs17.com.
All right, so what's this here?
We have a new development tonight on the bizarre missing persons case involving Blake and London Devon. I obtained a state document showing where the two may have been homeschooled. That homeschool is called Devon Academy. That state document lists an address for the homeschool, the same address on Eichelberger Drive, where Fayetteville police say the Devon family lived until June of 2019.
So does that mean they're tax exempt?
I reached out to the person listed as the chief administrator for the school, but was unable to get through. Now, the documents I obtained also show the homeschool opened in 2007, and 6 years later in 2013, 2 students were added to enrollment. That's the year Blake Devon and at least one other child who is not London were adopted by a woman named Avante Devon. And since learning about Blake and London's disappearances, we have been unable.
This case is almost brain hurting.
To reach their adoptive mother.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I don't understand this case at all.
And we are continuing to follow another breaking story unfolding in Fayetteville. Today, we're getting our first listen to the 911 call in the disappearance of 17-year-old Blake Devon, his adoptive mother, not only describing when he was last seen, but also shedding light into where Blake might have gone. Take a listen.
Do you think he is a runaway?
I think so, but he is generally religious, and he used to go back and forth about a Buddhist retreat and meditation, things like that, but this time he never called back. And my daughter did that once for 6 months, and she called, so I thought, okay. It's hard. He's very independent, high-strung, and very bossy, so it's not very unlikely of his character, but I'm sorry, ma'am, what was your question?
Do you think he's a runaway?
I would say so, yes.
When did you last see him?
When I told you during those holiday times, about a year and a half ago.
So what holiday time?
Wow.
Last holiday, it was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Around November,
2023 or 2022?
Oh, goodness gracious. 2022.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's the 911 tape. We just got into the BNC. Investigators are turning to the
What the hell is wrong with people?
public for help now in the disappearance case of 2 relatives, 17-year-old Blake Devon and his 27-year-old adopted sister, London Devon. London was last seen in 2019 in Fayetteville. Blake was last seen in 2022 on Ramsey Street in Fayetteville. On April 12th, police say they found partial skeletal remains. It's still not clear, though, who those skeletal remains belong to. The state chief medical examiner is now testing. Steve, this curious case just continuing to unravel.
Yeah, some new clues in that 911 call. Joel, thank you.
I don't know if they found skeletal remains or not. I think I'm not sure. I think my brain is hurt from this case. So my brain is hurt from a lot of things. This case here. Oh my God! I want it to be a whole day to at least soak in what's going on with this thing here. Went to a Buddhist retreat before disappearing in 2022, and her mom didn't call. The mom didn't call for a year and a half after. It's so weird. Oh my God. Jeez, people are just, they can't even lie right. Okay, so I'm going to get the hell out of here because my brain hurts now from this case. It's doing fine. And who the hell knows where Dean is? All right, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Anyways, it was good to see everybody in here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Anybody who is joining on the replay, thank you so much. Don't forget to check out Southern Gal True Crime. She's an amazing person. Arctic True Crime. Arctic Fox True Crime is an amazing person. Oh, Dean Johnson, you're back. Hey, buddy, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just made you a moderator, though, so there you go. You can post your channels in there, anything you want. Necessarily Evil's great. Dean Johnson's awesome. Miranda Lee is great. I'm going to try to cover that. Hold on a second. Let me. Hold on a second. I don't think I can find it. Okay, so I think my brain is too hurt now to go back to that case, but I'll try to cover that drunk driving thing over there in Michigan in a couple of days. Dean Johnson, thank you. Necessarily Evil, thank you. Miranda Lee, thank you so much. Southern Gal True Crime, thank you. As always, Arctic Fox True Crime, thank you. Who else was in here? Heather Brown was in here for sure. Heather Brown's awesome. Jocelyn's great. Thank you, Jocelyn, for coming out. Definitely check out your channel for sure. Wow, my brain is hurt from that last case. It's just, wow. I may need more coffee. Who else? Let's see. I know Honeybee was in here. Honeybee is awesome too. Honeybee's very good people. And if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. It's brain freeze right now from that. What a strange case. Lisa Joe, I'll probably butcher this name. Lisa Joe Shaley. It'll be Lisa Joe. Thank you for coming in. Always good to have everybody in here. And I think that's it. Okay. So everybody have a great night. Stay safe tomorrow, especially in Tornado Alley. I don't think it's going to be as bad tomorrow as it was today and yesterday, but you never know. So we'll wrap this up. Everybody have a safe week. Thank you. Sorry, Dean, about the timeout. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe.
Mm.